So they're bringing back Kirby for Scream 6, but someone should tell them that it doesn't mean a thing unless you use her properly. So after days of covering the mediocrity that was Multiverse of Madness, I'm back in the horror realm. And a lot of people are going to look at this news as a good thing, either because they just love the character of Kirby, or they will take this as proof that the new regime who is making Scream movies actually listens to the fans. I think it's a great thing when Hollywood keeps their ear to the ground, or keeps their finger on the pulse of the fan base and what we want, because you need to keep those people invested and happy if you want your film to be a success.
That makes sense.
I honestly think that more studios, directors, writers, and actors should take this approach moving forward, because you are quite literally nothing without the diehard fans that made this franchise what it is.
Hello?
Yo, first they called me toxic, now they want in my pockets. Using fan favorites instead of using logic. You can bring back Kirby, you can bring back Stu, it doesn't really matter if you don't know what to do. Peace. The issue for me is that I thought the previous movie, Scream 5, deviated greatly from what made Scream popular in the first place. It didn't look or feel like a Scream movie to me outside of the legacy characters being included.
This is whack! I can't get jiggy with this shit!
But Scream is more than just the characters to me personally. Scream needs an almost dark, campy tone to it. It needs intelligent commentary, and I'm not talking about the heavy-handed, toxic fandom bullshit they tried in the last movie. Scream 5 was just trying way too hard to say something, and that thing that they were saying came off as more disrespectful to fans than it did trying to please them.
Fuck me, right?
Scream movies to me always embraced fandom. The character of Randy's very existence in the first movie felt like representation for us as a fan group. And of course they tried to recreate that in Scream 5 with his relatives, and it all just fell very flat. And if we're going to continue the conversation about legacy character treatment, then we have to look at the big three. The reality is that Gale and Sidney were inconsequential to Scream 5 and really didn't need to be there. Their very inclusion just felt like it was there to bring in the people who will recognize them.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
In all actuality, it would have been better if they had not included them at all, if that's all they were going to give them to do. And then of course we have Dewey, who got the most screen time out of the original cast members, but he ultimately met an unsatisfying and underwhelming end at the hands of someone half his size. It felt like we were a long time removed from the days of Wes Craven meticulously planning out and thinking about how each killer would move and how each killer would act when they are Ghostface.
I'm feeling woozy, yeah!
So if we take into account all these legacy characters' treatments in Scream 5, how can I really be excited for Kirby's inclusion in Scream 6? Now, we don't exactly know how they're going to use her, but there's no evidence to suggest that she's going to be anything more than a glorified cameo just like Sidney and Gale basically were. And if that's all you're going to do with her, then that's pointless and you shouldn't even bother.
Don't bother.
But even if she does have a larger role in the movie, which is possible, I don't really see how they're going to be able to treat her with the respect that she deserves. Or at least in a way that's going to please everyone. If they couldn't utilize Sidney Prescott properly, what makes you think they're going to utilize Kirby properly? Now, as a character, I liked Kirby in Scream 4. Does she deserve all the attention that she gets? Probably not. But I do think the way her character was presented to us in a very unconventional way made her stand out from everyone else in that movie.
Because she got a great ass!
She wasn't a stereotype like most slashers tend to fall back on. And that's really what Scream is all about, right? It's about taking those cliches and kind of flipping them on their head. Yes, she was a popular, pretty girl, but she also had a nerdy side to her. She was even attracted to nerds, and she knew more about horror movies than almost anyone else in the whole movie.
No shit.
In a weird way, she felt like more of a suitable replacement for Randy than his own family did. And that has everything to do with how she was presented in comparison to those family members. And full credit should go to Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson for pulling that off. And that's really what it comes down to. Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven's hands-on approach was severely missed in Scream 5. Now, I'm all for new blood taking the reins of an established franchise, but they do have to create something that fits within the context of what we know about that pre-established world. And the fact that the same team is returning for Scream 6 doesn't give me a whole lot of optimism. And that's why I believe whether it's Sidney, Gale, Kirby, or Stu himself rising from the grave, none of that matters unless they know how to utilize them. The names alone aren't enough. You have an obligation to the fans to portray them properly. Otherwise, it will come off as nothing more than nostalgia bait that will age poorly, just like most modern movies. The thing that I personally like most about Scream 5 is how it made the man-babies and incels look as toxic as they are. Newsflash, the Scream franchise doesn't belong to you anymore. And Wes Craven was a fool for catering to you people. I cannot wait for Scream 6. And I hope they have a whole group of toxic fans as Ghostface this time around. Just so Samantha can put them in her place with all of her woman power. Yes, Queen!
Y'all be cool. Right on.